I'm sure most of you out there already have a laptop. They are small, portable, very powerful workstations that you can easily carry with you wherever you go. But the problem is maintaining these things is not as simple as a desktop because there's not much room to cram all the hardware in. When it's time to clean them up, it gets a little challenging. So whenever somebody asks me, I recommend that they at least once every 6 months open up their laptop and clean up the internals, provided that you can. I mean, MacBook users don't have it easy for them, but at least the rest of us who actually own good laptops, we can do it ourselves. So if you notice that your laptop is running a bit hot and randomly shuts down every now and then, chances are it requires a good cleanup. So let's see how to do that first. So the first order of business is to obviously shut down your laptop. And once that is done, you simply remove the battery from the battery case. Now you will probably need a good screwdriver set. If you don't have one, then you can simply borrow it from a friend. The good news is most laptops out there, if not every single laptop, it simply uses that cross screwdriver bit or whatever it's called. Simply use it to dismantle your laptop step by step. Now it's a little bit different for every laptop. Mine begins with removing the hard disk drive case. Now, as I was removing the hard drive, I noticed how much dust is collected on the top lid of the hard drive. This is not a good sign. Now, while ejecting the hard drive, simply push it with your fingers towards the other end and it will easily come out. Now, note that these SATA 3 pins are quite delicate, so try not to apply too much force while removing them because all the data you have stored, including your operating system, is in this thing. So keep it on a non-magnetic surface to the side. You may have to remove the RAM door as well and work your way through all the available screw holes. Now some laptops have it very simple. You just have to eject one button and the entire back panel opens. But my laptop has quite a bit of screws that you have to work through to get to the motherboard. There are even these tiny hidden screws under the battery compartment which you'll have to remove. Once all the screws are off, you can easily lift off the back panel. Now in some laptops there is a wire attaching the back panel to the motherboard, which usually is a power and signal wire for the loudspeakers. So again, when all the screws are loose, gently pull on the back panel from both of your hands and see if anything is holding it back. My laptop doesn't have such contraptions and the motherboard is easily accessible. Now the main component that we have to focus on cleaning is this fan here. Now since all the heat from the CPU and GPU are collected with this copper coil, it heats up this radiator over here and the fan blows air through it. So there will definitely be a lot of dust trapped in between these fan blades and the heatsink. So we'll have to remove that to clean them. Now as I was removing the cooling assembly, I noticed that my thermal paste has gone completely dry. This could be the case with your laptop as well. This thermal paste basically ensures that all the heat from the surface of your CPU and GPU are transferred easily to the cooling element, which is this copper wick here. If this thermal paste is dry, that means the heat conduction won't be optimal. As a result, your CPU tends to overheat. So it's always good practice when you open this up that you clean this with rubbing alcohol and reinstall a new thermal paste. But since mine is still on the way, for the time being I'll just clean out this gunk and dust from this fan. This fan assembly can also be removed with the help of the same screwdriver, and we can individually clean out the heatsink and the fan using an old toothbrush. You can be a little more harsh here as there are no delicate parts. I wouldn't recommend using water against it. If you still feel like you need some kind of a liquid to clean it off, use rubbing alcohol. Cleaning out the fan may be a little tricky because the blades are slightly curved, but be patient and keep on scrubbing and it will eventually be clean. Once all the main dust and dirt is blocking the fan has been cleared, you can take a look at the motherboard itself. You can clear out any dust that you see on the surface without rubbing too hard. It's recommended that you use a cotton dipped in alcohol or any kind of a soft fabric for this, but since I don't have any in handy, and since I know what I'm doing, I'll keep using my plastic toothbrush. Just make sure you don't rub on the capacitors and the tiny chips that you see here. And of course, don't be an idiot and start rubbing on the CPU and GPU. That's never a good idea. Now, as I said, at this point before installing it, you have to reapply the thermal paste, but since I don't have it yet, I'll simply reinstall this assembly here. Just arrange them in the same order that you took them out and tuck the fan wires in carefully without using too much force. These are brittle wires and if they break, your fan will not spin. Tighten up at least 2 of the screws if there are 3 or more, at least until the assembly is secure and is not wobbling around. Once everything is done, you can place the back panel on top and start screwing it back. The battery should always be the last thing that you install, so I'll assemble everything else first, like my hard drive. Now you can take out your RAM and clean it as well along with the motherboard, but mine didn't seem too dirty, so I left it as it is. Now you may lose a few screws here and there, but most of these screws are interchangeable. Unlike the MacBooks, we can take a screw of appropriate length and tighten it in another screw's place. Once you reinstall the battery, before you tighten all the back panel screws, Just check if the laptop is booting up fine, because sometimes when you reinstall your hard drive or RAM, chances are that they may be loose. So you will have to go through all of this again in case you find that it's loose. So confirm that it's booting up fine and only then reinstall the back panel. And there you go, you have successfully cleaned your laptop. And it should definitely run much cooler, as the fan can now easily blow out the hot air. I did notice a marginal improvement, but not too much, because I didn't reinstall my thermal paste. In a couple of days I'll reinstall the heatsink, and I'll probably make another video as to how to install it and what are the benefits of it. Now at some point down the line I will be upgrading this to an SSD because the hard disk drive is starting to show its age and slow down. But until then, this is as good as it gets. A machine with clean hardware will always serve you better. I hope you found this video helpful. If you like what you see and want to see more, then consider subscribing. And with that, until next time, take it easy and I'll see you soon. Cheers.